And now we want to talk more about the situation with Mark Naveau. He is a former Fremont Battalion chief and former presidential appointee, a FEMA presidential appointee. And Mark, the response here, unfortunately, these areas, they've been through this before a few times. What actions have local agencies taken to try to mitigate the damage here and to keep people safe?
Yeah, hi, Heather. Without question, what we've talked about in these fires is some of these areas have burned before. And even in those areas that burned during the Tubbs fire, there's been regeneration of light grass. So you have unburned areas that's on fire, plus some areas that burned before that are burning again. So it's a challenge for them. Now, because they've been through this before, they're experienced in terms of evacuation, and we heard Chief Cox talk about the success of that. Early evacuation last night got people out of those areas, and so there was no loss of life that we know of. So that was good news. Some of the new things that are taking place that is technologies coming into play. They have an alert wildfire camera system across the state of California, which allows them to see certain areas of the forest early so they can start to activate. There's also some information and technology that CAL FIRE is using from an aerial reconnaissance standpoint at night that they did not have before, so they can direct ground crews in where to go and that's what was happening last night. The aerial recon contacting ground crews, directing them where to go to suppress the fire.
Yeah, that really is an encouraging development here, Mark. This idea of this nighttime air attack, as you mentioned, though, not actually using, not doing airdrops, but doing this sort of, recon to figure out what's happening. Talk a little bit more about why this is so important.
Well, it's critical, and here's what happens in an air operation is that there's an actual air tower flying. It's OV-10. It's a two-seater airplane that flies at high altitude, has great visibility, and that is really the air traffic controller. In all that space above the fire, it's closed down to any air traffic except for firefighting airplanes. That lady directs crews in. They send in a pilot plane, show where they want the attack plane to follow the 747 and to do those drops. And that's important for two things. They want to make sure they've got, right on target and where they want it. But it's very dangerous. The weight of some of those drops are enough to overturn cars. So they've got to be careful about not only hitting the right spot, but letting ground crews know that this is taking place. So that communication is critical.
Yeah, it really is. Mark, you've been a firefighter. You know how tough all of this is. But we are going on now more than a month of firefighters out there every day battling not just fires, but major wildfires here in our state. I imagine that fatigue has got to be setting in.
Yeah, good point, Heather. And not just for firefighters, also law enforcement officers, neighbors, residents of that area that have had to evacuate, who have lost their homes. That whole area is suffering from, COVID-19 in the sense that tourism is down, so the economic activity is down. So many of the people that live in that area, not only are they threatened with their homes being burnt down, but their businesses have been impacted. You add to that this long firefight that's been going on by firefighters. And keep in mind, these MegaFires are managed by CAL FIRE, but they're partnered with municipal fire departments up and down the state. So there are fire departments and law enforcement officers that have been working, civil unrest, mutual aid. Now they're into the MegaFires. It's been a long duration. When you do that to folks, there's a risk that people can be hurt and killed. And it's a compliment to the incident management teams and the incident commanders that we've lost very few firefighters, and I don't think any police officers so far. So that's a risk associated with long-term duration and fatigue that starts to set in with these MegaFires.
Yeah, that is the reality. All right, Mark Naveau, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night, Heather.